Maybe it will be better with the headphone.
We can actually hear you.
Oh my gosh. Calling me now. My friend is calling me now. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, sir.
All right. So I think we are set.
Can you bring down your camera a little bit so that we can see your face very well? Yes, I think that's okay.
Is that better now? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, we are good to go, sir. I can hear you, sir. We are good to go.
Okay. Let's start.
But the network is a bit shaky.
The network is not good enough. Yeah. It's raining in Lagos.
Oh,
it's raining.
Oh, I can see. Okay,
It's
okay, let's start.
We are
very well. Okay, sir. We are good to go. A very warm good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you once again to this beautiful edition, the 32nd edition of our monthly program, Inside the Arena. We have inside the arena today, I will call him a veteran when it comes to engineering, a very distinguished engineer. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. By the time we begin to ask him questions, you will know much about him. But the little we know is that he was former Secretary General of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and former Registrar of Current. And today it's my pleasure to introduce to us a very distinguished engineer prince, OLUSEGUN ADEDEJI, fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow of the Academy of Engineering. And I remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Ben.
And you are still looking young, even at 85.
Well, that's God's grace. So it's not my own making. It's God's grace. People say so, but you can't hide the age. It may look very easy outside, but inside may be not as easy. But we thank God for the mercies and the grace of still looking healthy at this age. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and it's our pleasure to have you inside the arena today. Now, let's begin. Can you tell us in a nutshell who is Engineer Segun Adedeji? Share your family background, your academic background also before we go to the next stage of the question.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Well, I must thank you for this privilege and honor. I consider it an honor to be on this platform today, because it is the 32nd edition of the program, and you know how many engineers are in Nigeria. So to pick me as one of the people to be celebrated today, or at least to know more about me today, is indeed a great pleasure and honor. And I thank you for the opportunity. Well, I am OLUSEGUN ADEDEJI, a prince from the Ogun Lowo, Ogun Lowo, royal family of Ilesha. That's Osun State. Well, I'm born a prince, all right, but I have no anxiety or wish to be an Oba. So, like my friend who is addressed as HRH or Artist Oyeji, I like that title, all right, but I believe that my lifestyle may not be able to accommodate the responsibilities of such position. So I'm a prince, and I was born at 4:01 a.m., 1 minute after 4 a.m., on the 19th of May, 1939. For the benefit of one of our engineers online, the mother of Dakpo, Abe, that's of Morgan Monitor and Abe Associates. His mother was the midwife who took delivery, normal delivery at Ibadan, Adeoyo Hospital, on that on a Friday. And my parents were very quite educated. My father was an agricultural officer who was being prepared to take over from the white people in those days. And my mother also was one of the early students of Queen's College, Lagos. So luckily I have educated parents. So that's why the records are very clear. Now the background to this young man's life. So began from Malaysia, and I was admitted after the primary school. I was admitted to King's College, Lagos in 1952. When I got home to tell my father that I had been admitted to King's College, he was annoyed. He gave me a knock on the head that, who asked you to take exam to King's College? He was very upset. And why? Because he was a student, the foundation student of Government College Ibadan. And among his classmates, they had a competition of whose son will be there first, will be the first person to have his son in the school. And I wanted to make him lose that opportunity. So, it cost me a whole year because I couldn't go to King's College. And I have to wait another year to take the exam to Government College, Ibadan. Now, it's very important that I say this story because, honestly, when God has a plan for you, nobody can change it. When I passed to King's College, it was not on scholarship. I was to be a paying student. So, but the second year now that I took the exam, before going to that, my father just abandoned me in Ibadan with his sister. His sister is Mrs. Bolanle Awe's mother, the professor of history in UI, retired professor of history, was my father's sister. So my mother came to Ibadan to take me to Ilesha to register for the Government College Ibadan exam. Just about a kilometer away from the post office, where the principal of the primary school was going to post the name of students to be sent for the exam in Government College Ibadan. My mother arrived at Ilesha and saw the principal on riding his bicycle to the post office. So she stopped him and said, I'm coming to see you because of this boy to take exam to GCI. And the old man said, look, this is the envelope. I'm just going to post the list of people who have been selected to do the exam. Right on his bicycle, he entered my name at the bottom. And that is just in fact, less than 1 kilometer to the post office. If my mother had not seen that man, within that the time she saw him, the letter might have been posted without my name. And that is very important. That's why I said that God is God doing, because I will have missed the opportunity to even take exam to government college. But anyway, that's the background. Then I got admitted to government college. I think I was second in the whole national exam to enter government college. So that gave me opportunity for a full scholarship, boarding and tuition. And in those days, it was a big thing, because even when you were going home on holidays, there will be milk shared to you to take home. There will be things to take home from the school. So it was really a great thing for me to have had that scholarship. Then added to that, the Old Boys Association, who had this competition, or whose son was to be there first, they had a scholarship for me, which was converted to money, because already I had the government scholarship. So the amount of that scholarship was 42 pounds. 42 pounds. And my father divided it into two. Gave me 21 pounds, and he took 21 pounds. Of course, that was to my mother. So that was the story of how I got to government college with full government scholarship. But the important thing to this also is that the old man, my father died when I was in Form 3 in government college, which means if I had gone to King's College without scholarship, who knows, I might have ended up a bomb or something now. You never know what would have become, because my mother might not have been able to pay the school fees, and it would have been difficult to go through the school then. So that's very important to my life. So from that point on, till I had my master's and so on, I never paid. I was on scholarship throughout. So apart from the primary school education, I was trained to master's degree level with scholarship of various. Even one time I had 3 scholarships. When I was doing my internship at Dartmouth, I had 3 scholarships. So I thank God. That's the background to my education. And of course, government college was, I must say, made me what I am today. Because the type of background we all had in government college, they were preparing us for leadership. And even at the government college in Ibadan, I ended up being the head of school. That's the head prefect of the school. I was also the head of my house. And 1960, when I became the head of school, that was the independence year. 61, after higher school, even when I was going to do higher school exam, they exempted 3 of us from doing the exam. They exempted us. So they just took us to higher school cert without taking the exam. And after that, 61.
Okay, let me come in here, sir.
Yes, sir.
After your secondary education, you obtained your bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the Washington State University, United States of America. Now, two things. One, what informed, because you said it's informed your decision to opt for America at a time when most Nigerian students were going to the United Kingdom. 2, what also informed your decision to study civil engineering?
Well, thank you, Ben. Well, let me start with the civil engineering. What informed it? When we were in government college, there was no career guidance. Radically none. The only thing we that made us what to choose any profession then. It was like looking at the people around. People like Papa FAEng, who was a government college old boy, Obi Obembe, and so many people like that. And the reason why we looked at them was that they used to come to government college for what we used to call house supper. The house supper is an event once a year when old boys will come to the school, some of them with big cars and so on, to come and encourage us about life. And then when we saw them looking good, and then they used to tell us about the various professions, but it was informal. It wasn't a formal career guidance. So we use them as models, role models, and therefore we thought engineering would be good to study. Then going to the US, there was this ASPAO program, that's African Scholarship Program of American universities. The Americans came here and did the exam for everybody who wanted to go to the US on scholarship, on that scholarship. And I was one of those that succeeded out of 70 in my year, you know. But at the time we left Nigeria for the US, none of the people knew exactly what university we are going to be placed. We didn't know when we left here. So when we got to the US, they now placed us in the various universities. I was thinking of going to MIT or Harvard or McGill or Imperial. You know, in those days, all you needed to do was to take your HSC result to apply to any university you wanted to go. And of course, if your result was good, chances are that you'll be admitted. So when I got to the US, they took me to Washington State University in Pullman. That's in the West Coast. And I wasn't happy because it was not Harvard, it was not MIT, it was not any of the big Caltech that we used to hear about here. So, but really, the difference wasn't so much, because the Washington State University was reputable also for civil engineering or other engineering branches. Now, I was leaving Nigeria hoping to do chemical engineering, because at that time, chemical engineering was the easiest branch of engineering to be given to get a scholarship, because the government was then encouraging people to do chemical engineering. That was the early time of chemical engineering. But when I got to US, I changed it to civil engineering. So that's what informed my going to the US, and then the fact that I studied civil engineering.
After your BSc, you also obtained a master's degree also in the United States. That's at New York University. That was in 1966. And after your master's degree, you returned to Nigeria in 1968 to join the Western Nigeria Water Corporation. Can you give us some insight about your return? And again, at that time, why did you, I know that some of your colleagues who went to America at that time never returned. Why did you return to Nigeria? And why did you choose to join the government services first?
Thank you. That's a good question. Now, 1966, when I finished my BSc, I went to Dartmouth. That's one of the Ivy League universities in the US, to do engineering internship, and they gave me a research fellowship. And you know, the engineering program in Dartmouth was really, it was called a unified program, because they were giving Master of Engineering. They weren't giving MSc or whatever. So with that program, the dichotomy which exists in the various disciplines of engineering wasn't there in Dartmouth. And therefore, it was a much more difficult program. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, just my phone seemed to be bringing something which I didn't put on. Please,
only that we cannot see your face.
Yeah, I think something is covering the. Oh my God!
Just click on. I've asked you to start video. Just click respond. It will come up.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you.
So I was trying to tell you about the Dartmouth experience before coming to Nigeria. Now, the program in Dartmouth was a very good program if I had stayed back in the US, because they were the hot cake for industry. Because when you come out of Dartmouth with that kind of program, everybody is waiting to give you a job, because you are very flexible, versatile. You are able to solve engineering program from a fundamental basis. So I wrote to my cousin, my auntie in Nigeria. That's the Mrs. Olalea, where I mentioned, the professor of history, to tell her that I am in Dartmouth, and these are the programs I'm going through. And I said I will get an ME degree, Master of Engineering degree. You know, some of the projects, Ben, that they gave us then, like two programs, projects I will like to share. One was academic program, that you have to design a needle that you can stick into the body of a human being and read the blood pressure directly on a gauge. That was one of the projects we did in Dartmouth. The second one was the machine company, real Machem. The name of the company is Machem Machine Company. They were doing printing on a large scale. So they have this big drum of printing machine. And the problem was that after turning out some copies, the machine starts to give impressions that were not very clear. So we were to study that machine and design a system that will correct it to make sure that any impression for the machine will be clear. Imagine all this for a civil engineer who came from the traditional program of civil engineering. So it was quite interesting, but I said to myself, would this be useful in Nigeria? So when I asked my auntie now, she wrote me back and told me, look, if you bring that kind of degree to Nigeria, you won't get any job. Because Nigeria will know only are you a civil engineer? Are you a mechanical engineer? But you can't come and say you are a master of engineering. You are a master in engineering. You won't get a job. So she advised me against continuing with that one. Even though if I decided to stay in the US, it would have been fantastic. So that was what motivated me to leave Dartmouth to go to NYU. That's a New York University, to do my master's in '66. So on finishing there, I did some 2 years of industrial experience. I worked with some consulting firms, and had to come home because after 6 years of not seeing my mother, a widow, and I thought I should come home and see her. I wasn't even prepared to stay in Nigeria then. I came in because the company I was working with in New York gave me an indefinite leave of absence. And the letter says, whenever your personal plans bring you back to the US, you can come and start your work in the farm. So I have that letter, and just as a side information, 5 years later, I had to go to the US on vacation. I called on this company that I was in New York for holidays, and the company said, bloke, are you here? Okay, give me stable to start work. And for 1 month, I worked with that company. At that time, they were doing New Jersey Turnpike. I was part of the team that designed that Turnpike. So that shows you that I could have really stayed in the US. But when I came home now, I saw my mother, and I felt, look, what do? I can't leave this woman alone. I can work in Nigeria, and it was good working in Nigeria then. Immediately I applied to the Water Corporation. They gave me a job. Even the interview panel had 6 people. 4 of them were old boys of government college, but there was no way I could have failed the interview. So I got the job, and I had a enhanced salary scale because of the experience I've had. So from there, and then they gave me a house, they gave me a car. So what are you going back to US to do? And the exchange rate was 0.67, to $1.
So
you can
don't go there
now,
for now. So that don't go there for now, so that you don't cause hypertension for some of us.
Well, it's good to hear all this so that we can know how serious the problem is now. It's really a serious problem because the Naira was stronger than the dollar at the time. So there was no serious motivation. I have a good friend who stayed behind, Professor Esogwe. He's emeritus professor now. We were both on the same program in the US when we went for ASPAO program. We are still together as friends, but he doesn't have a plan to come back to live in Nigeria. And he's doing well.
All right.
He has
now you were with the Western Nigeria Water Corporation from 1968 to 1971. And also
Yes.
you left in 1971 to join the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation and worked till 1973. And after that, you left government service as Deputy Chief Engineer. That's in 1973, and joined the Schwed. You were there from 1983 until you left and found your own engineering consultancy firm, OLUSEGUN ADEDEJI Associates.
Yes.
Can you share some insight about what informed their decision to leave the government work to join a private organization in 1983? And again, you also founded your own company, OLUSEGUN ADEDEJI, where you are an associate, where you are a principal consultant till date. Because you told us that life was good with the government service. You are given a car, you are given everything you wanted, or everything you desired was given to you. Why did you leave?
Well, it's very interesting that you're asking that question because 68 to 71, I was with Water Corporation, as I said earlier on. I was promoted to senior engineer and sent to Abeokuta to be area engineer, water engineer. And what was my responsibility then? Becoming senior engineer, they moved me from a very, very interesting design office because we designed the water supply for the whole of Western State. We were about 30 engineers in the design room. Each one had his own project, and it was as if you were in abroad working. All the facilities were there. We will compare notes. And when I was in Water Corporation, I designed so many water supply schemes, ADEDEJI scheme, Ijebu-Jesha, Ilesha scheme, and so on. So those things made me very excited working with the design office. But immediately they promoted me for senior engineer at Abeokuta. My job became administrative. They will phone in, Alake will phone in, no water engineer, please send the tanker to us. One school will call, they don't have water, please. That was my job. So that's not engineering. And I was a very restless engineer. I couldn't survive in any environment except where I could really practice the profession. So that didn't make me very happy. And I thought it was time to move off. That was why I left the Abeokuta and then tried to get another job in Lagos. And then moving to Lagos now, I had 2 options. The principal of Yaba College of Technology was an old boy of government college, but one Akileye, Dr. Akileye. He said I should come and head the civil engineering department in Yabakole Tech. And I didn't respond in time. He delayed that position for 6 months for me to come and respond. But during that time, my senior brother, I told him about the appointment. He said, you want to go and teach? Have you seen any teacher who is rich? That was what my senior brother said. He said, and I'm not really for the academics. I didn't want to do anything in academics. So I disappointed Dr. Akile. I didn't go to Tech to head the civil engineering department. So the second alternative was the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation, where I was deputy chief engineer. And there was a lot to do in engineering. We did design of the Ikeja Papa Expressway, Maturi Scheme, Bagada, and all these places. We were very busy in engineering. I had 3 or 4 of them, 4 graduates from Unilag who were under me. And 4 of us did a lot of work, civil engineering, buildings, and so on. So it was exciting remaining there. But that was not my hope was to run a farm of my own. So after 2 years there, I had to leave. The GM was, but at that time, I'm not praising myself. Everybody around was taking money that they didn't work for. I was one of those that I never took a kobo, which for work for that I didn't work for. And the GM of LSDPC knew that. So he called me. He's also interested to hear this for the junior ones. He called me to his office. I told me, you have been, I've been looking for you to come and apply for land. And I said, sir, but I'm not yet 3 years in the corporation. He said, no. Look, he just drew up a letter from a paper from his table early in the morning. On the day the board was going to sit to allocate land. And he just said, you are a stupid young man. You don't know the value of what I'm doing for you. Sit down and write here on my table. I want to apply for land. 4 lines. Anyway, that day, as soon as the board met, he called me back to his office. Said that, look, the board has given me land. And I should go to the planning department and choose where I want. That was very unusual. And he told me it was a reward for the way I've acted in the corporation. And that's the house where I'm living today. Wow. The house, yes. And then, so when I left that place now for the private practice, I spent only about 2 years plus in LSDPC. So I joined, that's why I joined the private practice of Schwed Associates. And the partners we were 3. I was in charge of Lagos office. Two other engineers were in Lake Ibadan. But the 3 of us were engineers with the Water Corporation in Ibadan. That's where we met. We never knew ourselves when we were younger. So we just joined, we became partners on the basis of our professional association. So at that time, I had other ideas. I wanted to be involved with production. I was already producing bean flour, which was being sold in Kingsway then. Bean flour, myself and my houseboy. We produced bean flour. And we used to get orders from University of Lagos, of Ibadan, and Kingsway Ibadan. And when I was in Abeokuta, many of the supermarkets wanted the bean flour. So that part of the thing. So I knew that production is the way out of any problem for an engineer. So I now decided that I will leave Schwed. I did a lot of projects in Schwed. And there were other administrative problems which facilitated my moving. So I moved now to start my own company, Segun ADEDEJI Association. And that time now I was able to do other things I wanted to do. I was able to set up a company that I produce furniture and and another company that I did foundry works and centrifugal casting and so on. Maybe you want to ask about that.
Yeah, we will come to that when we come fully into NSE. Now,
yes,
you've touched one area I wanted to ask you. That leads us to the next segment of this program. Before we go into that, let me also inform the participants that today inside the arena is a very distinguished Nigerian engineer. You can, from what all he has said so far, they are all testaments to his incredible, contributions to the engineering profession. He was Registrar of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, and also General Secretary or Secretary General of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And also, interestingly, he was the pioneer national chairman of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers. These are some of the things we are going to be highlighting today in his life. Engineer Prince Segun Adedeji. It's our pleasure to have you inside the arena, sir. So now we cannot talk about Engineer Segun Adedeji. We have an army of projects that you have been involved in. So much projects. I saw many of them, 21-story building, 20-something story building, all in different parts of this country. We still going to be touching some of those beautiful and iconic projects that we are part of. Now, we cannot, in the engineering circle, we cannot talk about Engineer Segun Adedeji without making reference to your contributions in the Nigerian Society of Engineers and also in the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, and of course, the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. Let's begin with the Nigerian Society of Engineers. How did you join the Nigerian Society of Engineers?
Well, the Nigerian Society of Engineers in 1968, they had their first conference in Ibadan. I came in 1968 from the US, and I just strolled into the conference in Ibadan. One of my cousins, engineer Owo, was very active in Ibadan then, and he took me along, and that was my first contact with the NSE. Now, I didn't, I joined the society in, I think it was 74, yeah? I joined in 74. And I've been very active. I was very active. I was assistant secretary general, 78 to 81. And then I was secretary general 82 and 83 when Engineer Venerable Ebolu was president. Ebolu, yes.
Yes.
And then, well, my activities then, in those days, you were joining for service. You were not, there was no money in all these things that I did. In fact, you had to use your own money to go around. There was no remuneration for anything we did in NS. In fact, we have to support the society, the secretariat with the donations and so on those days. So that was how I got into NSC. And I at least I served in almost all the committees of NSC for more than 10 or 11 years.
Yes.
And so that is my contact with the NSC.
Now, still on NSC, sir. Still on NSC, sir. Before you go to the other committees, there is one thing, that's one of the companies you mentioned. There's one thing that is synonymous with your name. In fact, in the book written by Engineer I.K. Noah, I think if there are 100 engineers that he mentioned their names in that book, I think in ranking, your name should be among the top because he kept mentioning your name and your name and your name, all the things you did. And one of the things he mentioned, talking about the maize being used today by the Nigerian Site of Engineers, which he mentioned that you prepared the stand for the maize. And also, one other area that is also very interesting is that most of the plaques and medals used by the Nigerian Site of Engineers were produced by you. Can you give us some insight about these two things I just mentioned?
Well, the plaques. Well, let me start with the maize. It is true that engineer Igehon
Yes.
was the president at the time, and he presented the NSC with the maize. And so it was necessary to have a stand for the maize. So I designed the stand and produced it in my workshop, and I believe they are still using it today.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I thank God for that opportunity. And when I see the thing being used, it gladdens my heart that this is my production. And that's one thing about production. You will be very happy to see what your hand has produced. Now, on the plaques and the medallions, I still do all the fellowship medallion. I still produce some of the group dynamics plaques, and the presidential medallion of office. I still did one a couple of weeks ago. So I mean, that's just my my love is for workshop and producing. I want to use my hand and my brain. And at my age, I still go to the workshop to dirty my hand. So young people, please, they should take note. Engineering is no longer sitting in the office and getting drawings prepared. The drawings must be transformed into usable product for humanity. So, does that satisfy your question?
Okay, let's go to Koren. After serving as Secretary General of the Nigerian Site of Engineers, 1982 to 83, then you also proceeded to the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, where you served as registrar from 1988 to 1990. How did you get to Koren?
That's good because Koren, the decree was 55 of 1970, I think. And the activities, there were previous registrars before me. And most of the registrars at that time were part-time registrars. And they used their own personal offices as the office for Koren. When a registrar leaves the office, the next registrar takes over and uses his own office for the services of Koren. I also served when the office was given to Koren by Federal Ministry of Works. It was during Engineer Olusegun's office as time as president of the FNSE. There was this expressway, Ibadan, Lagos, Ibadan, and the site office was where Koren office was. So, and I served as a part-time registrar also. I was the last part-time registrar because I had to now write to council, prepare a paper for council that the job needed somebody full-time. Now, I got there by invitation of Papa Father Onse. He came to my house one morning and he just said, Shagun, I have chosen you to be the registrar of Koren. No consultation, nothing. And I said, at that time, that was 1988. You know, I had left the practice of the former office of my old trade associates, and then I was still battling with setting down my own consultancy. So, and Papa Father said there was no way you could say no to him. So that's how I became the registrar. And at that time, well, I always joke now that I was an analog registrar, that the current registers are all digital. So at that time, everything was analog. We had to do our letters by, even some letters by hand, and some by typewriter and all that. But the important thing is that we, at that time, didn't have the full facilities for a full office. We even had to use corridor for office of the staff. Engineers had to donate 10 naira at one time to run the office. And so it was, I was even given a remuneration of 750 naira a month. Although I had a car, a driver, whatever. But it was a trying time. I had to convert garages, about 3 garages of the that they use in the, but that were used by the Federal Ministry of Works for the site office. I had to convert those 3 garages to offices when we had to expand the activities of current. So that's how I got to current. And my job mainly was for registration mainly. There was a lot of backlog of unregistered engineers. People wanted to register, and the files were piling up there. And at the end of the day, by the time I left current, as I think we are registered. My last publication was 1990 for the register of engineers. There was 3,950. That was the number registered at the time. So that's how I got into
3,950.
Yes, that was the. I have the register. If you look at the documents, it's for 1990. It's dated 1990, and there were a few expatriate registered engineers. They were just provisionally registered, but they were not permanently in Nigeria.
Okay. As we wind down, let me ask you also. You also participated actively in the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers. First, when it was a division, just a division of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. You were vice chairman, and until 1992 to 1993, and when it now became an institution, you became the pioneer national chairman. That's 2002, 2003. And as I said earlier, you have been very active, an active participant in the civil engineering industry. But there is one particular area that I want to take you to, and that is the utilization of bamboo as a material for construction. You have written 2 publications in this aspect of civil engineering. Can you share some insight on where you are passionate about the utilization and what are the findings? What are your findings in this area?
Well, for bamboo, the original, I've always been interested in engineering materials. Then in 1978, I think, there was this Asian Institute of Technology in Bangkok, Thailand. There was this international conference on materials of construction for developing countries. I have 2 books, 2 volumes on this particular conference. And there were 2 materials that interested me, bamboo and also ferro cement. Now the bamboo, so when I came back from that conference, I tried to publish those articles on these materials, just for information and for enlightenment for the engineers who might be interested, especially academic people, that was good area for research. But you know, I don't have the facilities, and I wasn't even interested in doing the research. But I wanted to enlighten people. So I had bamboo specifically. I still believe is underutilized, or even we are not even touching that area of that civil engineering material. Even ordinarily, without serious engineering characteristics of bamboo, you can even, I can tell you a few things you can do with bamboo, and we are using it already. We have the scaffolds in engineering. When you are doing high-rise building, you have scaffolding done with bamboo. And an interesting thing you can use bamboo for, it's like if you take bamboo and remove the culms, the nodal points, inside, if you remove the culms within the nodal points, it forms a tube. It's not a pipe that you can use for irrigation. Nothing can be better, because the external part of bamboo is protected, and it's waterproof. That the inside part, you can have water flowing through, even if it leaks out as an irrigation pipe, it's not it's better. Then you also have bamboo. You can split it up and use it as a reinforcement, even in concrete. And people have used this. You can make walls of like in fact, in some areas of the south of Nigeria, or Bendel area and so on, people have used this particular material to make walls and roofing materials and so on, in those areas. Then, if you take bamboo and cut it into two, you have two. You can remove the corns inside the bamboo and lay it reversely. You have one facing up, the other facing down, linking and then you can link a whole roof with like that, and you don't need to. You can use it for roofing material, beautiful roofing material. So you can see bamboo is very, very useful. When I was in the water corporation also, the engineers use my cup, because I made a drinking cup from bamboo. You just cut it below and cut it in the middle, and you have a drinking cup. Dressed very well, and these are the things that excited me about that bamboo material. And to date, okay, I don't think much of it is being done in Nigeria. We are not using many of these materials.
As you rightly said, is one area that also needs more research, and then yes. I just threw this up so that some of us it can provoke some engineers to research further, especially those who are in structural engineering, to look at it critically and find a solution to some of the challenges we have with respect to materials used for construction in Nigeria. Now, still on the Nigerian side of engineers, just recently, what I call the glass ceiling was broken in the FNSE leadership. Now we have, for the first time, a female president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, in the person of Engineer Margaret Aino Oguntala. Do you think that the time is ripe for female president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, or you think that the time is now time for women to run the show in the Nigerian Society of Engineers, being a veteran of the society?
What are we talking about? A female can head the society. We have female. Margaret Thatcher headed the British government. Theresa May also. Then there was the German Merkel. They are all women, and they've done very well. So I can see Margaret doing very well too, because she's you can see so far she has done how many months now? Maybe 5, 6 months.
6.
And her performance to me has been very impressive. So really, the issue of a female, maybe all along, our attitude has to change in this country. You know, these days, in those days, women were supposed to be in the kitchen. They are not supposed to be hard. That has gone now. They are rubbing shoulders with the men. And I think we should give them a chance. You know, I think there's no big deal about it, that a female has become a president. I'm sure in future we are going to have more females becoming president. So, and then if we are worried, let us see how she continues to perform for 2 years. And then maybe you end up recommending that only females should be president of FNSE.
That would be great.
I'm sure the men won't like that. The men won't like that.
Or we have an affirmative action. Maybe 2 men to one woman. After every
well,
2
I think
men.
that can evolve. That can evolve gradually. But we should give the women a chance. Yeah.
Okay, so now let us look at the Nigerian Society of Engineers. We've talked about some aspect of the NSC. You have been involved in the NSC, the mainstream of the NSC leadership, at the mainstream of the Korean leadership, and also at the mainstream of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers leadership. And I know you are very active also in the apex engineering body in Nigeria, the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. One, looking at the engineering practice in Nigeria, are you really satisfied with engineering practice in Nigeria and the way engineers are treated in Nigeria? Number two, Nigerian Society of Engineers. Nigerian Society of Engineers of today and Nigerian Society of Engineers of your active, because you are still a member, but of your active years, when you were the Secretary General and when you were still young. Compare the two of them. Are we inconsistent or moving in consonance with the vision, mission, and fundamental objectives of the society, or are we deviating from these laid down principles by our forefathers?
Well, life, you have to move forward. You have to move forward in life. You don't want to move backward. You want to move forward, and they do better than yesterday. Now, the NSC of today is a bit different from what it was at the time we served. Because I've already emphasized it in my earlier contribution here, that service was the prime reason for serving NSC then. So in fact, it was not as easy getting people really to even offer time to serve. And but today, other factors have come in apart from service. It looks like because at the time we served, the budget for NSC, who knows, I don't think it was much. But now we are talking of a very high budget, a lot of money now in the system. And people seem to be, well, I mean, it's not fair to generalize, but it looks like the emphasis no longer is no longer on service. And people now are scheming in all sorts of ways to get into the executive. People are not really interested, or may not give the service that is required. Because that's the reason really why people must be serving. But now people are scheming, having, for instance, I know a few branches were started a few years ago to enable some people to be chairman of a branch, not like OKOH, who is chairman of Abuja branch, who is doing very well. Some branches, I don't know, I don't hear what they are doing.
Thank you, sir.
But they are there. And so it has not It's not, to me, it is not a good development the way it is now. This in my village, they say the old man does not open his mouth too much in the public, so that it cannot be. We should not keep or wash our dirty linen outside. But we do hear things that may not be too cheering in the way things go on in the FNSE now. And the issue of the founding fathers, I think they didn't. At that time, the situation was very clear then, and you can't believe it that the communique that was issued after the 1968 conference in Ibadan. Recently, some people asked me to send it to them. Not much has changed in what they wanted. About Nigeria, it's only Nigeria that can develop Nigeria. Nigerians are not related, the engineers are not utilized the way they should be utilized. They are not given the jobs. Our people will prefer to give jobs to foreigners for whatever reason they may have. But no foreign country, no foreign company can be more interested in the welfare of Nigerians and the development of Nigeria than Nigerians themselves. So we have to realize that leadership should realize that whether we like it or not, it will come to a point that all the foreigners will go to their countries. We will now be on our own to develop our own country the way it should be. We took more reference to Germany, to Britain, to all that. I don't believe in that. We should develop at the pace that we can develop using our own people. You said that Julius Berger is a big company. Yeah, they didn't start like this size. And when they started, they were not the biggest company in Germany before they came here. Now they are the #1 of the biggest company, and using Nigerians to do this, to achieve this. So we must appreciate ourselves. We must recognize the value of the Nigerian engineer. Pay them well. You give jobs, you don't give people they pay. They have to be running around to get their fees. In fact, I'm against the use of FIDIC and all these standard payment scheme from abroad. Develop your own. The engineers should come together and say, we are charging this and that. The lawyers in Nigeria are not using the American standard to charge for their fees. The doctors in Nigeria are not copying the British doctors to charge their fees. Why must the engineer be using FIDIC? And honestly, we need to get together and change all this. The engineers they are just working at cross purposes, and people are not determined to change things. We must change. We must change. And by the way the engineers react in Nigeria, the issue of corruption that is so prevalent in Nigeria must stop. And we can do it if engineers do not participate in some of the wrong things that are going on now. So please, this is a subject matter that can take hours to talk about. So let me just stop.
Okay, sir. I would like to take you on just some aspect of the points you made. I think just focus. You have addressed the issue that regards to the Nigerian engineers, what Nigerian government should do also, and what engineers should do. But talking about NS, I have a very good friend of mine who, each time we are talking, and if there's an adage that he normally uses, he says that if a man keeps making reference to the past, it means that today is not good. Now, when we are talking, when we are sharing your experience about your working career when you returned to Nigeria, you did mention that at that time, dollar was 0.05 or something like that, Naira. And I told you that you shouldn't go further because it may cause hypertension for some of us who, based on the present reality. Now, you have seen the past, you have seen the present, and we pray also that you see the future, even at 85. Talking about the Nigerian Society of Engineers, I know you say you don't want to talk much, but we want you to also tell us some things that need to be done. Now, during your days as Secretary General, and I think I've seen some publications during the presidency of Engineer Ife Akintunde and his predecessors, the great job they did, and Engineer Kenwa, how they were able to confront the government on some critical issues that affect engineers. Do you think that the NSE of today is doing enough? Because when you see young engineers, the first thing that they will tell you is that NSE is not doing anything for them. And that is always one thing that is always in their mouth. During your own time, can you share some insights how you were able to confront, because almost all during your own time, you had a lot of robust engagement with government in matters concerning engineers and engineering practice in Nigeria. Is that the case today in Nigeria, and which way to go? Just like Sonny Okosu in his song say, which way Nigeria and which way to go. This time we are saying which way the Nigerian Society of Engineers and which way to go.
Well, thank you, Ben. You have said it rightly that in those good old days, the past
that means today is not good, as I said.
Well, definitely we had good old days, though, because definitely good old day.
If it is good old days, that means the present is bad.
No, but that's the way the elders will talk. That the elders will not say in the old bad days. The activities, as I said, you know what helped the promotion of the profession then was the fact that you could see that the oh, this thing has come again. Please, something is disturbing my.
Okay.
Just a minute. Yeah, it's back again. Now, as I was saying, the time we serve, you know, we were dedicated, more dedicated than now. We saw the truth. We said the truth. We were not afraid to tell government the truth. We were able to reach government, and there were opportunities for them to react to what that was being said then. And some of the statements I've made today were from by those days, that Nigeria cannot be developed by foreigners, that Nigerians only can develop Nigeria for themselves. All those things, they are still the same thing today they should be. But I am telling you, I don't believe that, and then the government then listen more than now. They listen more. They listen more. Maybe the leadership then had a better, maybe crop of people than now, but at least they listened. But not that there was, everything was guru, that everything went well, but at least we were able to change a few things. And the development of the profession, we had like FAEng, for instance, consulting engineers now belong to the council to our current council, and they were able to, at least whatever happened in that particular area of practice was right at the center. They were able to present their problems. In those days, it wasn't like that. So really, please, the problem, as you have also said, is that Nigeria, we have to continue to believe in ourselves and don't just hope that a foreign company will change anything here. We have to change the system ourselves. So if the current, and then technology is moving so fast, technology is moving so fast. In those days, in my house, I have a few areas where I kept all the old phones. And when my grandchildren come, I will show them how we were phoning using this. This is the next phone. This is the next phone. Now, before we have the iPhone and all that. So there have been a lot of development. And then we have opportunities to do better these days. But we are not. For instance, I give you an example of what bothers me. We don't have adequate data. No data. When I was registrar of current, we recognized the need for this supervised industrial training scheme in engineering, FAEng. FAEng now is about 30-something years old that we've been on it. At that time, the council, we had the manpower studies of Plato. I think it was Jos that we had the headquarters there. Manpower studies. It was a pilot scheme that we were to go around, identify companies that are doing engineering, what capacities, what spaces are available to train young engineers, all that. We don't have that data even till now. I don't know how many, maybe I'm out of tune with what is going on. But you cannot plan development without data. And the people have been saying CC is not possible, there is no money. No. The law school, they're able to organize their own training. Medical people were able to organize. Why can't engineers? Whatever method, I don't have all the answers. But we should get down to how we can train our young people to take over from us. Engineering is not just coming out of university, you're a graduate and so on. You need training, you need experience to be able to get into engineering practice. So those are some of the things that FNSE should also be interested in.
Okay,
sir. Agreement with current.
As we wrap it, sir, please, can you adjust your camera a little bit so that we can see your face? Yes. No.
Are you seeing now?
Okay. I think it's a bit better. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now, as we wrap it up, now one area we also known for is that you are one of the custodians of the FNSE history. I know there are a few of you that whenever any issue that concerns the history of the Nigerian Society of Engineers are being discussed, people will mention the likes of you, Engineer Otis Anyeji, and Engineer Inua of the blessed memory, and a few of you who, at any time you ask them of anything that has to do with the history of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, they will tell you. Now, have you been able to put together a kind of memoir or a book about your life?
Well, that's a very touchy question, because I have tried to start it many times. I was going to do something when I was 80. I didn't quite make it. Now, 85 years, 1 month and 2 days. I've not seen many, but I have documents that I've put together. And I'm not giving up. Honestly, I think it is very important to do this. When I look at the book published by my friend Noah of blessed memory, I feel that really I should have something that the posterity will remember me for. You know, I can leave a legacy behind for the younger engineers to read, because I'm sure I can put together very, very interesting engineering activities that I've taken part in. So I have not yet, but since you have mentioned it today, and I think the whole world is hearing us, I think I will take the opportunity to continue the work and do it. as soon as possible.
In a nutshell, if you have to bring up that book, what name, a kind of a tip, what do we expect the name of the book to be?
I was thinking of, you'd be surprised, I wanted to put in a title like, My Life Has Been a Joy to Me.
Wow.
That's not very good for a title, but I think it's the way I feel really. My life has been a joy to me. And I can now, because looking through my life, I think I've had everything I should have with God's grace and mercy. And I can't tell you there's a day where there are a few days of I call them red letter days, when I lost my two brothers and another sister. Because out of 5 children, there are only 2 of us left now of my mother. So I still feel that generally I've had everything I should have as God has made me very special, provided for me, no regret about anything, and so on. So I think I will do it. I promise you, Ben. And
we cannot wait for that to come. And I bet you that whenever that comes out, because a reality, we are going to promote it to the highest level, because I know it's going to be a very big resource for any engineer practicing in Nigeria who has the interest of FNSE at heart. You mentioned something, I wanted to wrap it up with that, but you mentioned something, and that takes me. Can you just give us one memorable occasion in your life as an NSE member, or an event, maybe one conference, one NSE election you participated in, or something, one event that whenever you remember it, you will feel excited about your being part of that? Ojukwu in his book said, because I was involved. One particular scenario you were involved that whenever you remember, you say, wow, I thank God I was involved.
Well, I think I will want to recognize the day in Port Harcourt, when the civil engineers gathered together to support the idea of having the Nigerian Society of Civil Engineers as a body corporate. And I was really happy, because I'd always believed that with the NSE, a big umbrella for all engineers, there will be need to promote the divisions, because you cannot really have, no longer, it wasn't easy to just have one conference that covers all the interests of engineers. And professional development is very, very key to doing well in engineering. So if we are able to have your own civil engineering division, I was happy the day that was approved by the civil engineers of Nigeria. And the reason also is that before that, the proposal had gone around, and NSC people were, well, I put people because some of the older people didn't believe that we should have the civil engineering division. Even I had to do a paper or a letter to all civil engineers in Nigeria in 2001 or so, when there was a conference in Kaduna, and the president then was Engineer Shomolu, who was determined not to frustrate all activities to register the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers. So I sent this letter. Everybody who came to the conference, as they were arriving, I would just give them a copy. So the whole thing went around, and but before then, we had made sure that the older engineers who might not like the idea, we had convinced them, because the older engineers didn't see any need where you must have civil engineering group. But we were supported by the fact that structural engineers already existed. Nigerian Institute of Structural Engineers already existed. Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers already existed. So we were able to, that was a very, very memorable occasion for me to have, at least to have led the vanguard of to have been part of those who started the agitation to have the Nigerian Institute of Civil Engineers. And we succeeded at last. So, and I'm glad that the civil engineers are doing very well now. So, and also that has created the other, that has encouraged all the other divisions to come up, you know. So that's one occasion I don't want to forget. And there's a point I wanted to make about the education. You know, this one is a simple one. Although I have a master's degree in civil engineering, but I believe that master's degrees should not be for a general civil engineering like that. Nowadays, you should have master in hydraulics or masters in transportation or master in something or the other. Instead of saying you have MSc in civil engineering, I don't think you can have a master's in civil engineering, really. That's just one side comment I wanted to make. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a very wonderful time with you inside the arena. You know, we have 3 segments of this program. We have the first, which is the direct free kick, which we have been having since you came inside the arena. And we are going to be going to the second segment of this program, which is what we call the corner kick. The corner kick is a time when we allow the participants to also have the opportunity to ask questions. Now, the floodgate is going to be opened. We know the rules. You click on the reaction button, you click on raise hand, and we will unmute you to ask your question. The first we have in the line is Engineer Oyedele.
Thank you very much, Ben. Today, I'm very, very glad to be on this program because Engineer ADEDEJI, my tio, I'm sure he understands when I call him my tio, is on the hot seat today. I am, like him, an old student of Government College Ibadan. And I'm proud of all of the things that he has said about his life in Government College Ibadan, to be head of school in Government College. We are the only one who understands this language. Is really something, and to have gone to Government College Ibadan is something that is beyond description. I mean, I have never been able to complete telling my children the story of Government College Ibadan. And I'm not surprised, and I'm sure that, Ben, now you know what my route is when I talk about the profession and what we must be doing, and about integrity, and about the practice of engineering, and about what leaders of engineering should be doing. You see where I have, and I'm proud to say, sir, and I'm sure that we support this, that the Nigerian Society of Engineers, that the old students of Government College Ibadan, like Engineer FAEng, Engineer P.B. Oyebolu, and many of the ones who are before you in Water Corporation Ibadan, are in fact, and with all due sense of modesty and respect, the original founders of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Engineer Otis Oyeji had told me the story of how he became president, how he was dragged into the active service of the Nigerian Society of. My question is simple, sir. And you talked variously about the engineering taking a stand on so many things. And I say to people that if the Nigerian Society of Engineers is collecting 11,000 naira per annum as annual fees, how can we grow the organization? How can we grow the organization when we go cap in hand to beg governors and people in high office to donate money to us for us to be to organize our annual general meeting and so on and so forth. That is the reason why they are not listening to us. I mean, we should be able to fund our activities in-house. That is my question. What do you think we can do in that respect, sir? Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello.
Shall we take the second question so that you can respond to two of them, or you want to take them one after the other?
No, maybe take another one. Let's see.
Okay, Engineer Fidelis AGKM. Sir, can you unmute your mics?
Okay. Good afternoon, Engineer Shegu Adedeji. My name is Fidelis AGKM. You mentioned right at the beginning of your, well, let me call it presentation, that you mentioned FASCE. And you mentioned getting admission to universities outside Nigeria. And I was wondering whether that is still possible today. Well, if somebody had, there's no more FASCE, probably. But I was old enough when people went to secondary schools in Nigeria and finished up with FASCE and got admission to universities abroad, direct. I was one of them. I'm not aware, I'm not too sure whether that system still exists today. And if it doesn't exist, would you agree with me that today in Nigeria, we desperately need reform? Education reform, training reform, apprenticeship reform, experience reform. Because you had said earlier about giving Nigerian engineers more responsibilities. I'm sorry to say they can't cope with the responsibilities because of these reforms I mentioned. I think we spend far too much time in Nigerian universities doing secondary school subjects. If we had done it the way it was before, like with the HSC system, you would go into university and then start studying university subjects, not secondary school subjects, because I don't think that the secondary school education today, when one finishes it, really gives you a starting point that is comparable to a young man or woman entering university either in Germany, in the UK, France, or somewhere in Europe. So, sir, would you support reforms in education, training, apprenticeship, and experience in Nigeria as a starting up point for us to improve things for ourselves and for Nigeria as a whole? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sir, you can respond.
I can respond to those two.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, let me start with my old boy, Oyedele now. You are a very highly respected old boy. Also, you've done very well in your profession. And I must congratulate you on your recent fellowship to be a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. So that's just to acknowledge you and what you are. I mean, being an old boy of Government College Ibadan it makes me very proud and happy. Now, the point you made was about this donation and funding of the activities of FNSE. That has been there and a practice which really has not made us to be, maybe I'll put it not very much respected, because sometimes you go 1 year to some company, they give you some little money, and so on and so forth. And and with that, you may not be able to criticize such the activities of such companies when they are not doing things properly. I mean, somebody was just giving you some donation to carry on. Can you really challenge the body again, really? Because it is natural for you to just be a bit relaxed when you are coming to somebody who has been kind to you. Now, I agree with the idea that we should look for ways, and that was tried at one time in NSC. For instance, the NSC had a group, consultants or so, were led by late Professor, who was in a Unilag, Professor Shegun Deribigbe. He was, because NSC had this group, and we were even getting jobs to be done by NSC. I don't know how that didn't go on again, but it was during that time that the Niger Bridge, the second Niger Bridge, was awarded to the NSC. And those are the things that we should have been promoting more, for us to get enough funds to run the society. The cap in hand thing around asking for money from people, as has been observed, does not give you much dignity at all as a professional. Because engineering is development. I think Margaret Thatcher said it before, when the European Council of Engineers was being started. In this speech, identified engineering as the pivot of development, and there's no argument about it. So any country that doesn't give the adequate recognition is bound to pay, look for funding, I mean the activities of the NSA. So are you still with me?
Yes, we are.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So that's my reaction to my old boy Oedele. The other question from Ejikeme is about this reform. I don't know why. I mean, definitely what is going on now is totally different from what used to go on. Because at our own time, all you needed to do was to send your results to these universities. For instance, I was admitted to UI to do physics. We never actually applied there. A letter just came that we have been admitted to UI to do physics. And we are depending on government scholarship then to do physics. So those were the days when we should go back to the standards that we used to have. This education there must be some radical change to all this, the way we are going on. The reform definitely is important. And Ejikeme also has said that he was part of the system in those days. And the thing that was recognized was, merit. It was merit that was that ruled the whole in those days. Meritocracy. Nobody. It's not what you knew. Just send your result. When I was in Washington State University, I challenged the 2-year, first year, second mathematics program, and I passed them. And they had to write to Nigeria, my school in government college. They wrote to say that they want to congratulate the teacher who gave me the background in mathematics. I still have a copy of that letter. So many of us who did higher school then, we were able to start a university at a level higher than other people who didn't have HSC, because the standard was high. You know, so we need the reform, Engineer GKM, and we should get, and then university in Nigeria. One thing I see that it's not just your theoretical mathematical training for your students. You can, when I was in the US, we had practicing engineers who came to teach us part-time on what went on outside the university, you know, professional practice. But here, the faculties there, they don't even want anybody from who outside to come into the faculties there. That is wrong, because the students, no teacher can design better than me. When I used to say it, I said, no engineering professor in the university will be able to do engineering design more than me, who does it every day. So I think we should also look at changing the systems so that students can be trained properly. Engineering is not just by knowing all the formula and so on. You have to practice it. You have to get experience in it and do well. So, GKM, I hope I have the experience we need to change. I agree with you. You know, so there must be a reform in the education program. There must be a reform.
Okay, sir. Once again, can you also help us adjust your camera before we take the next two questions? I think those are going to be the last two. Engineer Kunle Adebajo.
It's my...
Okay.
A very good afternoon, sir, and to everybody. It's a total delight to hear from our dear Egmont. I must say that I have worked, you know, all those, as you said, those good old days. Worked closely with you, sir. Particularly in examining engineers and the likes, and it has been it's a delight to hear so much more about you that I didn't even know about. So I want to congratulate you. My question, when I raised my hand, I didn't realize that the previous question would be very similar, talking about reforms and the like. And I will just add to it to say that in those days, we understood the need for young engineers to have very sound grounding. And you mentioned that about SITSI and the likes, which in a way is in operation, but it's still to come to real fruition. So I would like to ask you, sir, in your experience, and in fact, sorry, before I even ask that, I will also agree with what you just said, that students benefit so much from visits by practitioners, and therefore the IT sessions and any form of collaboration with the industry is so essential. So my question to you, sir, is what, with your wealth of experience, are we really on the right trajectory with the caliber of young engineers coming out now? And what can we do to make sure that we still have a fantastic crop of engineers, just like we used to have with you in the good old days? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. We take Engineer Flourish. Ehazo. Please, can you unmute? Engineer Flourish, please, can you unmute your mic?
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, it's such a delight to be part of this, and I appreciate our speaker, Engineer Segun ADEDEJI. And my own contribution is this question. He mentioned, so you mentioned in particular that there were manpower studies that were performed, during your time in FNSE or COREN, and you also mentioned that development cannot be planned without data. That there are a lot of lack of data in the engineering, sector. Now, my question is this: this database development, is it an FNSE or COREN responsibility? So, who is responsible in this database development for all engineers? Because if we don't have the right data for engineers, then how can this development we are all, craving for, happen? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I think that's the last one.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. There you are seeing all the great engineers coming out, like Kunle Adebaju. You served many years with me on the interview panel for FNSE and COREN. And of course, it was a very, very great occasion. I mean, great joy to work with him. Now, the reform we are talking about, to get good grounding these days, the engineers, the young engineers coming out, even we recognize, you can remember, Kunle, that the reports that were prepared, sent to the interviewers in those days, very, very poor indeed. Gradually, it became so bad that when I was in charge of supervision of COREN office in Lagos, we had to do a technical report writing seminar, there was a workshop for people who wanted to come for the exam, because they didn't have proper background to write good report. I don't think the situation is better today. It's even getting worse, I believe. So really, there must be a change in the way these students are brought up. And I believe engineering is a practical profession, but you have to be able to communicate with your client. You have to be able to write proper report. You have to be able to convince people of your ideas and so on. So definitely the training has to be, we have to do some changes to ensure that this the student coming out. Then the students even right now don't have the right attitude to work. They don't have the right attitude. They are still not convinced that they must get their hands to be dirty. For a long time, people from Unilab, students from Unilab, UI and around, some of them used to be sent to my workshop to do industrial experience. And they will put their hands in their pocket while the technician is working in the factory. And they looked at the guy as, well, he's just a technician. Really, that attitude is general in our climate here. We have all to change that attitude, looking down on technicians, craftsmen, and so on. In some countries, the craftsman earns more than the professor. At the end of the day, the craftsman, the technician, earns more than a professor, because he has skills that he's using to service even the professor and everybody else. So therefore, this attitude that, and that's why we have the problem with the dichotomy between the graduate engineer and the HND holders. There's no reason for that. The HND, the colleges of technology were set up for specific purpose of providing the middle level manpower. That, and it's very clear. Why one has to have 4 credits and the other has to have 5 credits. The dichotomy should not even be an issue, because the schools, The university is different, had a different mission from the one from the tech school of tech or college of tech. So really, our attitude generally, parents will not allow their students to go to the college of technology or to a technical school because they want him. Everybody cannot be an engineer. Imagine if everybody is an engineer. Would that be a good system, a good place to live if everybody in Nigeria is an engineer? So definitely all the different cadres of engineering must be appreciated and remunerated well. They should be, if a professor earns so much, the engineering earns so much, let the technician and the technologists earn as much, because they are also providing service in the system. So and that is why we are having problem with students going to do technical work. Nobody wants to be a plumber. Nobody wants, but we need all this in the system. So there must be a rethink about how we bring up the young people. And the young engineers themselves must realize that getting out of the university is does not make you an engineer. Without the adequate experience and training during the time that the 2-year training, before you come forward for examination to be a registered engineer, you have to be very well. You have to understand all the technical, all the practical aspects of the profession. That's why the 60 you mentioned. Immediately you come out of the university, I believe that there must be a place where you can have organized, supervised training. After that, you will now go for 1 year NYSC, which after that you can now try and be registered. So Kunle, that's we share the same views about this. The second one is from engineer Flourish. I want to flourish you. Now you have many you have said that there are many studies, the manpower studies, that with the pilot scheme we did in Plateau State. We did it because we realized then that to do this CC, you need to have that. Even current is not doing enough for because current has the power. Is a current problem, not even FNSE. It's a current problem because current has the power to go to any, control of engineering in all its aspects and ramifications. That's what the law says about current. So current can go anywhere and enter any industry, any factory, check whether they are practicing engineering properly, get a record of what they are doing, and ensure that they can assess such a company, whether they can take on students, graduates who can train in their company. Current can do that. And I think they should do more of that. They are doing monitoring of companies now, but the other problem is the enforcement. If the enforcement is very strong, everybody will sit up and obey what the law says about engineering practice in this country. Because all these documents mean very, very well for the country's development. So it's not merely FNSE problem, it's mainly current problem to ensure that all the companies are visited, data collected, and then you can now see it and say, so many graduates can go to this company for training, and so on. So I think that's what I would think we should be doing. I hope, Flourish, you are satisfied with that contribution.
I think that's okay for the day. We want to once again thank you, sir, for being our guest. Now, an interesting part of this program is what we also call the extra time segment. That is the time we also ask the participants questions about you. And today, a lucky winner will be going home with a good sum amount of 50,000 naira. And this amount is courtesy of one of your children, the immediate past president of Koren and deputy president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Ali Masuya Rabiu, is the one who has sponsored today's prize on your behalf. We say a very big thank you to him for being a consistent supporter of this program. And of course, he was the first person to come inside the arena. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Engineer A.A. Rabiu. And the question goes like this. Please don't send in the answers. I know some of you normally prepare yourself ahead of time to push in any possible answer. But if we don't say go, don't send. Now, the question is very simple. In what year was he the head prefect? Go. I think I've started seeing the correct answers. Sir, I think you tell us the correct answer first before we go to the... In what year were you the head prefect of Government College, Ibadan?
1960.
1960. So, okay. I can see... Iyanoluwa Oyekunle is the first I can see here. Iyanoluwa Oyekunle. Please, can you show us your face, please? Can you? Oyekunle? Okay. Okay, let me ask you to unmute. Okay, tell us your name and where you are calling from.
My name is Oyekunle Iyanoluwa Emmanuel. I'm calling from Calabar.
All the way from Calabar. All right, congratulations. You have won for yourself the prize for today, which is 50,000 Naira, courtesy of Engineer A.A. Rabiu. After this program, you send, if you have my, do you have my contact? I will
Yes, sir, I do.
Put it in the chat. Okay, you have it.
Yes,
if
sir.
you have my contact, you send me your details so that we'll credit you. Congratulations to you. And to all the participants, we say a very big thank you to all of you for being part of this wonderful program. I want to thank our guests, our father, our mentor, Engineer Prince OLUSEGUN ADEDEJI, FNSE, FAEng, for accepting to be our guest today. We want to say a very big thank you to you, sir. And it's our prayer that God will continue to guide and protect you and give you more grace, more strength, and good health to continue to do the good job you are doing for the profession and for the nation. And it is our prayer that between now and the next 2 years, we are going to be launching that book. And I want to be part of that successful story. A very big congratulations to you, sir, and to all our participants once again. And to our sponsor, Engineer A.A. Rabiu. I still remain your host.
So, Ozzy, Ben Ozzy, the only thing, a lot of people found in that they were not able to join the platform because the passcode or the also didn't work. They couldn't come on the platform. Many people have sent me messages. So I don't know what happened. Maybe
we are sorry about that, sir.
Maybe when
we are sorry about that, but what we do is that after the event, we normally get the video downloaded. We will share the video with you so that you can share with them.
That would be fine. That would be fine. Okay, appreciated, sir. Ben. I've really had a good time too, and I enjoyed the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And to all of you, I remain Ben O.C. Oko, the host. Have a wonderful weekend. and see you next month for another explosive edition of Inside the Arena. It's my pleasure to now officially sign off for today's event. Thank you, and God bless you.